political extremism, the internet obsessed's favorite pastime. Whether you be a casual outside observer or an active participant, it can be fun to delve into from time to time. That, however, is not what today is about. Not in the slightest. What I present to you today isn't related to any form of internet lollygagging or tomfoolery. It is the 110% unadulterated truth. It is the cure to what ails society, and it is what everyone needs to immediately believe in unquestioningly. So, without further ado, I am proud to present my manifesto. Now, before we begin, I would like to clarify that everything that's about to come out of my mouth and is currently coming out of my mouth is all 100% satire, and none of it should be taken seriously. I am completely mentally stable and a very good swimmer. Now, to break down the Theo-Syndicalist cosmic Commonwealth, quite the obtuse term it is, I believe, instead of speaking into the camera for 20 minutes on end with no breaks, because that would be great for viewer retention, I will instead break this down term by term, beginning with Theocratic Syndicalism. Yeah. I bet you're real like energized by that word right now. But let me explain real quick. Theocratic Syndicalism is like if you were to take theocratic anarchism and syndicalism, put them into a blender, blend it up, and then you have like this bloody mess because like, oh my goodness, those were like living babies or something. I don't know. But Norman, what's theocratic anarchism? And what's syndicalism? I think you're asking too many questions, but I'm going to explain it to you anyways, because I know you're 3 years old and inundated by lead and microplastics. Starting with theocratic anarchism. Theocratic anarchism is the biggest word I'm probably going to say all day, or think for the next week. That's a lie, I have English finals coming up. Theocratic anarchism, when people usually think of anarchism, they think of kind of like, Molotov cocktails, burning down federal buildings, explosions, dismantle the state, like that. Theocratic anarchism ain't like that, because theocratic anarchism, or really more specifically Christian anarchism, because Christian anarchism is like the most predominant, if not the only branch of theocratic anarchism, is pacifist in nature. It's very anti-militarist, it's very non-resistant, and it's very kind of like anarchism should either be a result of like peaceful dismantlement or like just removing yourself from society. So that's kind of like that's like theocratic anarchism in a nutshell. Of course, it's also like religious in nature. It's the idea that the only justified power hierarchy in the world is religious. Like, why is the government over me? God's above the government. The government's gonna make me do bad things. I don't think I should follow it. Which honestly has been the logic a lot of people have adopted throughout history. So, a little more common than you'd think. The second half of this is syndicalism. Completely flipping the spectrum, kind of. Syndicalism is a form of socialism, or rather was a socialist movement in the 19th century, centered around collectivizing the means of production and the distribution of the means of production to unions. And, you know, focused on the worker, on unions, worker co-ops, stuff like that. So how do these mash together? It's pretty simple. You take the unions and the redistribution of power from the government to the unions, and you apply that to theo-anarchism. You take this, and basically instead of having it decentralized to unions, it's decentralized to the congregation or to the church. So the idea is you have like branches of churches and people belonging to religious communes controlling the means of production and the distribution of the means of production. Now, something someone might ask is, but Nordman, what if I don't want to be a part of a religious commune? I would say, shut up, go drink your seed oils, and get out of here. 3, 2, 1. Alright, awesome. Now that the adults and free thinkers are left, how do these congregations interact? The idea of a commonwealth isn't a new one. It's kind of a loose term. Commonwealth this, Commonwealth that. If you watched any of Fallout or played any Fallout, you know the states there referred to commonwealths. Or the British Empire was a commonwealth at some point. Commonwealth is basically just a semi-formal, informal agreement for unrelated states or unrelated bodies to help each other out, or a formalized agreement for them to help each other out. Still, it's very decentralized. It's kind of a confederal or federal system. And in this system, the congregations have loose ties to each other based off of religious similarity to help each other out and to help each other's citizenry out. And there isn't necessarily not a basis for this. Religious institutions are famed for being some of the most generous institutions on the face of the earth. Like, an overwhelming majority of all charity is directed through religious institutions. So it's not unbelievable to think, when the going gets rough on one side of wherever the Commonwealth is, other parts of the Commonwealth will come to aid them. And that's essentially the idea behind the cooperation within the Commonwealth. Of course, the Commonwealth is also kind of a trade union bloc thing where they can freely intertwine and trade migrants, because there shouldn't be any issues between them. Why wouldn't there be any issues? Well, because we've solved the issues of resource scarcity and territorial disputes, obviously. What? I haven't explained to you how we've solved the fundamental human issues of conflict over ideology, religion, and resources. Well, let me explain that to you in this next section. Cosmic. The cosmic part of this is, it can kind of seem just slapped on in the middle of the name of Theo-Syndicalist Cosmic Commonwealth. It's kind of just stuck in there, almost just to amplify the thing. At first glance, it seems like, what? Of course you're sticking it in space. Why wouldn't you stick it in space at this point? It's absurd as it is. But it's not, because it's the truth. Don't forget. But the truth is, that the cosmic component plays a much larger role in the entire ideology, because according to the National Geographic and a wide variety of other sources, the vast majority of wars can basically be boiled down to being fought over 3 things: religion, politics, and resources. Now, religion we've kind of already dealt with, as I kind of already said. The only real form of religious anarchism is Christian anarchism. So we're dealing with the intergalactic crusade here. Sorry, liberals, cry me a river. And of course, on the political side, there's not a whole lot of political systems to be fighting over here, because we're basically dealing with a form of minarchism or anarchism, and it's fundamentally pacifistic. In a utopian sense anyways. And of course, the intricacies of free trade, incentivizing peace and cooperation, and everything like that. That's not even to get into the incentives of the religion itself, compelling people to work together and not be divided over politics, even though we've always managed to do that anyway. But the big stickler that this cosmic side takes care of is resources. Be it land or fuel or energy or water, anything like that. Once you have access to the infinite cosmos of space and asteroid mining and interplanetary habitation and cosmic travel, tolerance is a no-brainer. This planet has too many type A's on them. Just move to another planet. You don't even have to move to another neighborhood, another city, or another country. Realistically in this system, you would only have to move to another congregation. But you don't even gotta. If you're, such a racist, which you shouldn't be under this system, but if you just happen to be, you could straight up move to another planet that's just more sparsely populated. And that's how genius this plan or this ideology is. It has tolerance built into it, and the fact that like you can literally just run away from your problems no matter what. And it's not like there's going to be a government to compel you to like be crammed together in these dense urban contexts where like conflict always seems to fester. No. Perfectly even for everyone. But of course, the cosmic part it brings up a bigger question, and that's the question of praxis. So, mini section on that real quick.
There was a little Spanish flea, a record star, he thought he'd be.
Praxis. Praxis is another big, scary word, but don't be worried about it. It's basically just the practical side of it. How are we going to implement our plan? And of course, this is our plan now. If you've made it this far, you are ontologically correct. You're a good person. You are right. You're a dog lover, you're a cat lover, your grandma likes you. And, for everyone who hasn't made it this far, they're ontologically evil and nothing you do against them can be wrong. Satire. Wink. The praxis begins with encouraging space travel, specifically private space travel. And even though the idea of encouraging SpaceX and Facebook to shoot for the moon or Mars might seem a little contrary to the whole religious commune idea, just trust me on this one. If you're ever gonna get to the theocratic anarchist part, you got to start moving away from the government now. And the best way to do that is to privatize the infrastructure. And privatizing the infrastructure for a cosmic commonwealth begins with privatizing space travel. So we got to encourage this first. Next, religious hegemony. Of course, you're not really practicing what you preach if we're going to accomplish this via crusade. So we'll see how that shakes out. I have faith. Next of all, the anarchist part. This might be the hardest part, in all honesty. It may even be impossible, because the shadowy global elites will not allow it. Pure and simple. Satire. But just pie in the sky, other people have written perfectly good praxis over that. In fact, Leo Tolstoy in this book, The Kingdom of God is Within You, this book is acclaimed for being the bedwork for Christian anarchism as a practical means of implementing it. So maybe I'll read that, get back to y'all on a part 2. It is 300 pages, and I'm not going to be in town for much longer, but, maybe. We'll see where life takes me. What's important, though, is knowing that we are right, and we can act, and if you made it this far, I love you, and you should join my cult ideology love circle. Click on outro. I literally just wrote outro. Alright. In conclusion, that was basically my conclusion. Thank you for sticking around this long. This was my manifesto over the Theo-Syndicalist Cosmic Commonwealth. I'm a perfectly sane and hinged individual, and you will probably never see political content from me again. Even though this wasn't really political content, this was kind of just me rambling about an idea I once had. A year ago, I came up with the idea of post-scarcity, automated, anarcho-Christian communist space utopia, which was this pie-in-the-sky idea of robots taking care of everyone's needs so everyone could focus on philosophy and religion, kind of like the aliens from Ray Bradbury's Martian Chronicles, kind of. So that's where this idea began, and I kind of just narrowed it down to this, because I didn't want to have to go over reconciling communism with Christian anarchism, and then folding in the cosmic aspects and explaining post-scarcity communism. That's a whole other thing. And if it's a whole other thing y'all want to see, I would be glad to do it. My brain is this big, and I am always looking for ideas. So go into the comments, leave me ideas, leave a like, share this around. I'm desperate for attention. Thanks for watching.